Hello, fight fans. Seattle Mike, MMA with friends. Everybody, please slap that like button. If for some god-awful reason you're not already subscribed, make sure and smash that subscribe button and ring that bell so you're notified whenever I drop a new video or go live like April 18th for UFC 249 and basically every other major combat event. Boxing, MMA, you name it. All right, guys, a few of you are probably already ready to light my email up, light me up in the comments. I have some crow to eat today, but I'm not the only one. I said Khabib Nurmagomedov versus Tony Ferguson would happen. Even when ESPN was reporting that it was canceled, SureDog was reporting it was canceled, MMA Junkie was reporting it was canceled. I said, guys, this is still going to happen. I have confidence. Well, Khabib Nurmagomedov melted that confidence when he refused to take any of the lifelines for this fight. Tony Ferguson says Khabib Nurmagomedov should be stripped, and I cannot disagree with him. Now, if you want to make a case as an individual or as Khabib Nurmagomedov for not making this fight, reading his Instagram post saying, why should he be required to travel around the world twice for this fight when the world's on quarantine? I will also hear Khabib Nurmagomedov's argument on that. I do want to hear, however, what the UFC told Khabib Nurmagomedov before he flew to the United Emirates. What exactly was it that they said? What did Khabib ask? Why was he so intent on flying there when no one else was? But I'll tell you why you cannot argue with Tony Ferguson saying that Khabib Nurmagomedov was stripped. This guy was an interim champion, and he tore his LCL doing media, as we all know, for the UFC. The guy has had this fight promised to him how many times now? The guy's got like 14 wins in a row. He fights Anthony Pettis, a dangerous dude coming off a knockout victory of Stephen Thompson. After they stripped him of his interim title. Fights Donald Cerrone after they stripped him of his interim title. Come on. Khabib Nurmagomedov has not fought since October of 2018. He has mentioned that this fight could possibly happen in September. That would be almost 2 years since he fought. Tony Ferguson has fought all comers. Like I said, 13, 14 defenses. There has never, in my mind, been a more deserving challenger than Tony Ferguson. Now, we've talked about Tony Ferguson versus Justin Gaethje, and now rumors have came up for Tony Ferguson versus Conor McGregor for an interim title. On the UFC side, on the business side, I can see Conor versus Tony. Justin Gaethje would be absolutely irate, and I believe he would have every reason to. If you're going to look at the rankings and the ratings and do what's right by the fighters in the sport, I believe you got to put Justin Gaethje out there, even though I think it's a tougher matchup for Ferguson. I think it's one of the toughest matchups in the world right now. Justin Gaethje's absolutely on fire. But Tony Ferguson has the right now, in my mind, that if he goes to Dana White and he says, look, you know that I deserve this title already. I shouldn't have to fight anybody. In fact, if Khabib Nurmagomedov is not planning on fighting till September, when he had several opportunities to fight in Belarus, he's had the ability to come back. Tony Ferguson didn't have the ability to fight on a torn LCL. But when he did, 9 months after, against doctors' directions, he went out there and risked his health for the UFC against Anthony Pettis. They said, you're not even ready to fight. Tony Ferguson says, I don't give a fook. And went out there after that horrible injury. His LCL was torn all the way off of his leg. Went out there and dismantled Anthony Pettis. Now you're going to say that he should have gotten stripped for doing media where he injured himself, but you're going to argue with him that you can't strip Khabib for not making a fight that he has had several opportunities to make, and the reason he's not in the country where the fight's probably going to happen is he left the country ill-advised on a whim. If Tony Ferguson goes up to Dana White and says, look, I've done everything you've asked me to, I want you to take that belt. I'm not fighting anybody. You take that belt and you put it around my waist right now. I think Dana White should get down on one knee and put that belt around Tony Ferguson's waist. He has every right to not only demand that Khabib is stripped, that he becomes a champion without a fight. He's won interim championships. He won that interim championship against Kevin Lee. He's been the consummate company man. I don't think he should have to fight Justin Gaethje. If he gets a fight, I kind of hope he gets Conor, just because we all know Conor's the money, it's the prestige. Tony Ferguson, that would make the legend just that much bigger. And then I think Tony versus Khabib becomes probably 50% bigger at minimum if Tony Ferguson beats Conor McGregor. And especially if it's a close fight, I'm not sure how much Conor McGregor has to lose here. I think he comes in an underdog, at least a slight underdog. And especially if you can make a case, if the Conor fans can make a case that Conor could have won, should have won, made a mistake, got a close decision, whatever it is, Conor's stock doesn't really lose much of anything. I think we all know Conor can lose a fight now, and his fans will still come. They'll still fly over from Ireland. People will still order millions of pay-per-views. He still has a huge fan base. And that's not going to go away with the loss of Tony Ferguson, especially if it's a competitive fight. And he took it on super short notice, which this would be. So I think that's probably the way the UFC is leaning. I want to know what you guys think, though. Am I out of line in saying that Tony Ferguson is right, saying Khabib should be stripped? I'm not saying that I have the right to say Khabib Nurmagomedov should be stripped, or that you have the right, or that anybody else has the right, but I believe Tony Ferguson has every right to that belt for everything he's done, and that's my opinion. Let me know what you guys think down there in the comments, guys. As always, I love you. I respect you. And until things get back to normal, stay safe, stay home, and stay clean.